Episode 2 of Run the Tapes back, guys. I think this is the greatest series of all time. I'm going through old games and reviewing them as if they just ended today. And today is the game that Chelsea won the league in 2006. The day they beat Man United to win the league. Now, this is the second episode where Man United lose and someone else wins the league. Is it an agenda? Wallahi, he's an agenda. How about that? This is definitely an agenda. Sorry about it. Tough. This is my channel. But anyways, starting with the context, Chelsea only needed 1 point to win the league today at Stamford Bridge. And considering the fact that they went 43 games, at this point they're 43 games unbeaten in Stamford Bridge, I'm sure at the time many people had their bets on Chelsea to go and at least draw with Manchester United to take the league back and keep the league, at Stamford Bridge for the second time in a row. And isn't this just great? I'm not a Chelsea fan, never will be a Chelsea fan, but the fact that this is their second league title in a row when just the year prior they hadn't won the league for 50 years, to me is insane. This is what football's about, New challenges, even though they spent about £1 billion. New challenges, it's all amazing. A week before this game, Chelsea had just lost to Liverpool FC in the FA Cup semi-finals, whereas Man United hadn't played for about 12 days by this point. So maybe people were thinking at this time, I don't know, Chelsea, they might be a bit fatigued. Maybe my bets are on Man United, who had more time to prepare for the game. And I guess not for failing to prepare, is preparing to fail, is the quote. So maybe people had their bets on Man United to win. But leaving the context and going to the lineups, when you look at this Man United team compared to when they were in a similar position back in 2002, this team is a lot less experienced than the 2002 side. And when I done that video, I said that if Man United win this game, my bets would have been on them to go and win the title back in 2002. But today, even if Man United with this lineup beat Chelsea somehow, I still don't think they would have gone and won the league, because when you look at their side in 2002, they were just coming off the back of winning 3 league titles in a row, coming off the back of a treble just 3 years ago. The squad with players like Roy Keane, David Beckham at that time was just a lot more experienced than it is today. Not to say that this team isn't experienced, because they still have Ryan Giggs, who has 8 league titles, and Sir Alex Ferguson with another 8 league titles. It's just a lot more young, a lot more raw, way less experience, with players like Rooney up top at this point, who are still very young, have yet to see a Premier League title, and young Ronaldo, who is yet to see a Premier League title. I just don't believe this squad, even if they had won, would have gone on to have beat Chelsea. When I look at their lineup now, and you have Zaha up top and Rooney compared to before when they may have had Van Nistelrooy out or whatnot, and Edison Park out wide, it's just not the same squad it was in 2002. I still don't believe they would have won the league. But when you look at Chelsea's team, and they're going for that 3 in the midfield, 1 up top formation, which at this point, even though they've been employing this formation for about a year now, is still a shock to the league. When you compare it to all the other teams playing a 4-4-2, most midfielders are used to coming against, most double pivots are used to coming up against 2 other midfielders. Centre-backs are used to coming up against 2 other centre-backs. This is just a lot different and still a shock to the league, and you can tell in the way they play that teams still aren't adjusted to this new style of play. And what makes it more scary is that Chelsea did have that tactical flexibility. In the FA Cup final they lost, they played 2 up top with Hernan Crespo and Drogba, and today they have that flexibility to go to a 1 up top, which most teams in the league just don't have the flexibility to do. Most strikers are used to having a partner, whereas Drogba can play on his own, Crespo can play on his own, and that tactical flexibility can be a shock to teams, and it influences the preparation of teams. They don't know whether Chelsea are going to go over 2 up top. They don't know whether they're going to go for a 1 up top, which is just not what coaches at this time or players in the Premier League at this time are used to. But allow all the dilly-dallying, allow all of the chat. Let's just get straight into the nitty-gritty, straight into the match, which it was a cagey affair, which is ironic considering the fact that William Gallas scored 5 minutes in, which, may I just say, the most lazy, bozo defending you will ever see from a Man United team. The corner comes in. It like ricochets off of Drogba's arm, not his arm, and then it landed to Gallas, who just poked it in at the back post. And I was thinking, why is Gallas so free? I rewinded it, and Mikel Silvestre just runs away from Gallas. He just runs away from him, leaving him free to just poke it in. I was so confused, and it's again the second time in 3 years that Man United need to win if they want to keep their title hopes alive. And Mikel Silvestre just lets them down again. Now, I'm not going to sit here and call him a bad player, because, again, I haven't seen enough of him to call him a bad player. But he's definitely not a big game player from what I'm seeing, because just running up, he let the entire Manchester United defence down today. But rewind it a bit further, and you see that there's a bit of controversy because Lampard absolutely slices through Cristiano Ronaldo in the lead up to the goal. And it's one of those challenges where in 2006 they let it slide. But if this happened in 2026, this would have never ever been able to stand because Lampard, although he got the ball, he got more of Ronaldo's ankle than he got of the ball. And this game was typified by challenges like this when you have John Terry later on in the game getting two like unbelievable challenges in just 2 seconds. One from Saha, another from Rooney. He has blood trickling down his legs, but credit to him, the guy kept playing. He played the full 90 minutes, and I guess that's why they call him Captain Lee, the legend. I guess that's why that's just part of the reason, at least, of why he's one of the best centre backs to ever touch this league. But all in all, Mikel Silvestre let down that Manchester United defence today because I do not believe the scoreline is reflective of the general performance of Manchester United, particularly their defence. It's definitely reflective of their offensive performance, but it's not reflective of their defensive performance because today Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville and Vidic can really hold their heads up high. The way Rio Ferdinand and Vidic were able to deal with Drogba today, gotta give him claps for that. For a striker that's known for his aerial duels, for a striker that's known for being able to win most physical battles he comes up against, he was dealt with easily by Rio Ferdinand and Vidic. Whatever centre-back he moved towards or gravitated towards, they were able to deal with him perfectly. But I guess this is just an example of how small mistakes can just eradicate an entire good performance, especially defensively, because they were good defensively in that first half. I mean, both Chelsea and Man United were very good defensively this first half, but Mikel Silvestre really let them down with that first goal. And Jose Mourinho said it himself, if Man United hadn't gone 1-0 down so early, or if they had been able to at least bring it back to 1-1, this would have been a very different game. I don't believe it would have been 3-0, and Man United possibly could have walked away with a win, because they did have a clear-cut chance. The only clear-cut chance of the game happened in this first half when Rooney went through on goal against Edwin van der Sar, but put the ball wide. So against Petr Cech, but put the ball wide. And Andy Gray blamed the grass, which at first I laughed, but when I rewinded it, you could see how the ball slowed down in front of him, which he didn't intend, because the grass maybe was just a bit, I don't know, it was a hot day. The grass was probably a bit dry, right? The ball wasn't skidding as it usually does. But I said earlier how Man United had a bad offensive performance, but was it a bad offensive performance or was it a very good defensive performance from Chelsea's back? I would say back six when you include Makelele and Petr Cech, because today no one could get change out of them. Ronaldo tried, he couldn't get any change out of William Gallas. He had to move to the other side. Tried Ferreira, could get no change out of Ferreira either. And the whole defense for Chelsea today, it was unbelievable. Ricardo Carvalho, this is the best game I've watched him play. John Terry was hobbling and he was still doing his job correctly. Ferreira was doing an amazing performance, whether it was against Ji-sung Park on one side or Ferreira or Ronaldo when he switched sides. And anytime Petr Cech was called on, he does what Petr Cech does. He was able to claim crosses beautifully. If there were any shots, that came towards him, he was able to just calmly collect it. His shot handling was brilliant today. And it's another example of why this man here is one of the best Premier League goalkeeper probably to ever touch the league. And I can't talk about the second half without glazing Joe Cole. Please guys, leave this video, come back. So leave the video, watch Joe Cole's goal, come back and you will glaze with me. This goal was the only time in this game Drogba was able to get any sort of change out of Vidic or out of Rio Ferdinand. He pinned Vidic, let the ball hit his chest into Joe Cole's path, trickery, gets through on goal, slaps it near post past Edwin van der Sar, and what a goal it was. Joe Cole, you are the GOAT, bro. You are the absolute GOAT, dude. And after that second goal, it's just, you can tell Man United just didn't care anymore. They knew it was done and dusted. They knew they weren't going to put 3 goals past Chelsea in like 30 minutes. It was over. And you could tell that through their performance. For example, when that Rio Carvalho third goal, right? Bear in mind, Ricardo Carvalho today, absolutely beautiful today. He was able to win the ball back in his own box, give it to Frank Lampard, who just drove up the pitch to the other box, unchallenged. Carvalho made the same run with him. He laid it off to Carvalho and he wrapped it near post. Again, Edwin van der Sar getting beat at his near post, but he wrapped that shot. And it was a third goal. And when you watched that third goal, there was no urgency from the Man United players to get back. I just don't think they cared. There was no urgency. They didn't want to get back. It was just, they were like, yeah, man. You can tell they were just like, yeah, I can't be asked. The English players, they weren't trying to pull their hamstring out before the World Cup. They were like, this title's over, bro. They just didn't care. Mikel Sylvester again. You might think I hate this guy. I don't. He was jogging like he was late for the bus. He did not have a care in the world. No care in the world. Absolutely. He didn't give a crap if Man United didn't win that league today. In my opinion, he genuinely let down what was a good Man United defensive performance. Moving on to player ratings then. I'll start with the Man United team, the losers. Sorry, guys. Edwin van der Sar in goal, I gave a 5. I would believe I'm actually being a bit generous here because I do believe the 3 goals that were conceded, even a top goalkeeper would have struggled against those shots. I mean, Gallas was like, if Gallas missed that header, I'd be very surprised if Edwin van der Sar was able to save that. It was point blank range. I can't really blame him for that. That's Mikel Sylvester's fault. The second goal, Joe Cole, amazing shot. What a wonderful strike. Can you really blame Edwin van der Sar for that? And the third goal is the only one I say I can really put some blame onto Edwin van der Sar for that goal. It was his near post into centre back, even though it was a great shot. But you would expect one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League to save, to at least get a hand onto that shot. Gary Neville then I gave a 6. He didn't have much to do this game. Like I said, Chelsea weren't really great offensively. They were okay. But when he was called upon, I think he'd done his job. This is a general, just a very stable, reliable performance. And I guess an example of why he is one of the most consistent players the Premier League has ever seen, and an understandable reason why he is considered one of the best right backs this league has ever seen. And then Rio Ferdinand, I gave a 7, and Vidic, I gave a 6. I gave Vidic a 6 because he was at fault, sort of, for that Joe Cole goal, because he was the one that did get pinned by Drogba for that goal. So I would say, just generally, I think Rio Ferdinand was better than him today. I think he was better on the ball. I think he was better in the air. But Rio Ferdinand finished today wasn't very bad. I think a 6 is fair for his performance today. And Mikel Sylvester, I give a 3, bro. Absolute letdown. Again, letting down the Man United defence, who in 2002, when I did a video, if you check my other video, 2002 they were good defensively and let down by Sylvester. And then today they were good and let down by Sylvester. I gave him a 3 today. Lazy bozo defending for that first goal, and I should give him a 2 to be honest, but whatever. And then Giggs I gave a 5, and his midfield partner O'Shea I gave a 6. I think O'Shea was slightly better when it came to the defensive side of the game. I think from Giggs you would expect a bit more oomph from him offensively today, but he didn't really offer much. He was dropping deep to collect the ball, trying to spin it. I don't think he was bad today. I think if anyone was to create a chance for Man United today, I would have given it to him or Rooney. Jason Parker I gave a 4. He's a work rate player, a player that hounds people, tries to win the ball back. But he started off on the wide areas today, and it was a lackadaisical performance. I don't think he did anything. It was a very forgettable performance. He didn't offer anything offensively. He offered decent stuff. If it was going based off his offensive performance, I would have given him a 2. But his defensive performance, I think, puts him up a bit. So I gave him a 4. Ronaldo, I give a 3. I think he was the player with the most attempts on goal for Man United today. All of them were wide. I don't think he got a shot on target. Two of them were free kicks that one was on target, but the other just flew into row Z. And then just again today, he was locked up by William Gallas. Then he moves to the other side, locked up by Paulo Ferreira. And I don't believe anything more than a 3 is fair to either him or to Jason Park or to anyone on his team. I think he was offensively their worst player today. And there's one more player worse than him offensively, and that is Saha, who I gave a 3. Offered nothing. Genuinely nothing. He was dealt with beautifully by Carvalho and Terry today. He did nothing. And his partner Rooney, for me, was Man United's most dangerous player. I gave him a 6. He went out injured at the end, which I say sorry to. He went to the World Cup anyway. I'm not saying sorry. He went to the World Cup anyway. But it was a challenge. Even the Chelsea players, they looked a bit shook, That just goes to show how important of a player he was for England when he was only at this point maybe 19 or 20 years old. But he was their most dangerous player today. He created the chance that he had for himself anyway. He created that chance for himself and ultimately just put in a decent shift in today offensively. Not the best, but a good shift nevertheless. And moving to Chelsea's team. Petr Cech, I gave it 7. Nothing. All the shots he saved, you'd expect him to save. But other than that, his claiming of crosses, his shot handling, everything today was perfect. I think just what you'd expect. It was just whenever he was called upon, did a very good job. That's just as simple as. Whenever he was called upon, did a very good job. And then the 2 centre-backs in front of him, Carvalho, I gave an 8 out of 10. For his goal, for his defensive contributions. I should give him a 9, bro. I'm not giving him a 9. I'm going to give him a 9. And today, my man of the match. My flipping man of the match. It's him or Lampard. I know Joe Cole won the man of the match. But for me, it was between Carvalho and Lampard today. Both of them had immense performances. John Terry, I gave it 8. That's why I'm going to give Carvalho a 9, because I think he was better than John Terry today. But then again, John Terry was carrying blood on his legs. He had an injury. He was hobbling around the pitch and still was able to put in an amazing performance. I can only imagine how good he would have been if he wasn't carrying an injury. And William Gallas, I also gave an 8. Got the goal. Amazing defensive performance. Yeah, just all round underrated player. A player I don't really hear much about, unless it's the fact that people are mentioning that he wore the number 10 at Arsenal, even though he's a defender. But yeah, all in all, a very good player, very underrated player too. And Paulo Ferreira, I gave a 7. Not because he was the worst out of the back four, but because, in my opinion, he had the least impressive performance. Did a very good job though, nevertheless. Locked up Ronaldo, locked up whoever came down his side. Ultimately, a very good defensive performance. Makelele, I gave a 7. Good. I think on the ball, right? I know he's known as just a destroyer, the Makelele role. He's not really meant to be good with his feet, but I think there's times where he gave the ball away a bit cheaply that may have, if Man United were better offensively, could have caused Chelsea a few problems today. Essien, I also gave a 7. I think it's along similar lines. He gave the ball away a bit cheaply, but a great defensive performance. And Lampard, I gave an 8. Offensively, defensively, it doesn't matter. People only really mention Lampard's name when it comes to the fact that he scores a lot of goals. I believe the commentators mentioned that if he had scored, he would have been on 17 goals. So going into this game, he was on 16 league goals. But defensively, his ability to win the ball back, his ability to drive the team up the pitch, get the assist, amazing player. Genuinely, not underrated, but I believe a lot of parts of his games are overlooked by the fact that he scores a lot of goals. Drogba, then I gave a 6. I do believe I will give him his credit. If he didn't get the assist for Drogo's goal by pinning Vidic, I would have given him maybe a 4. I didn't believe he was very good today. I don't believe he offered really anything today other than that, which is why I give him a 6. But it was great. He pinned him amazingly. It was a good assist. Robin, I gave a 5. I would say Chelsea's least impressive player today. Didn't really do anything. There was times where he could have done a lot better. One time where he could have squared it to, or cut it back, to Mr. Drogba, but he didn't, and instead he just kicked it. I don't even know what he did, but it was all in all, I would say, a forgettable performance from Robin. And Joe Cole, I gave an 8 out of 10. That goal, I was a bit surprised actually that he won man of the match, because outside of that goal, he wasn't as good as Lampard or Carvalho. But that goal, like I said, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Insane goal, amazing goal. The celebration was amazing as well. All in all, amazing performance from my man. And I guess that wraps it up. All in all, Chelsea deserved to win this game, although I do believe the scoreline is a bit misleading. But what a performance. And you can tell that this is the best team in the country by the way they carry themselves defensively, by the way that they see out games. Genuinely such a good team. And that is a wrap for episode 2 of Run the Tapes Back. Be sure to comment if you want some games if you want to recommend some games. If you want to watch these, just search up Old Matches and you'll find a site to watch on. What a game. What a performance. Thank you guys very much. Stay wise.